welcome back to another episode of Across the Diamond, brought to you by Diamond Prospect Media. I'm Central Florida Area Scout Kennedy Hales, and joining us as always, West Florida Area Scout Jet Rosenstein, and our scouting director, Mr. Mike Merritt. How we doing today, guys?
Great, thank you.
What's up, Kennedy?
Chilling, another day. All right, let's get right into it with a recap. Mike, you went down to see Sagemont High School. How was that game?
Yeah, so went down to Vieira. Actually, I guess you could consider it the Space Coast Complex, where they had an event going on called the Launch, and was able to see Sagemont High School for the first time, and they absolutely dominated Riviera Prep 10-0, 5 inning shortened game. But really, the key player in this matchup was Fabian Suarez, and the Berry commit was pretty much lights out throughout his entire outing. Struck out 10, only allowed one hit, walked none over 5 inning pitch. So he was every bit of dominant, creating a lot of swings and misses. 86, 88 with the fastball. So nothing really overpowering, but kept the ball really low away in the zone. What really complemented his fastball, though, was a really good looking curveball. Had a lot of depth to it, a little 12-6 natural break to it. And he was able to really use that pitch in his arsenal with 2 strikes left. So, really impressive performance by him. It seemed that the deeper the game went on, he got much more confident, really started firing at the zone. And by the end of the game, the opposing lineup really just, they didn't have any answers for him at all. So, really impressive performance by the Berry commit. And as we continue, we talk about all these arms every week. Another dose of athleticism here as he helped himself out during the game and cleared the bases with a triple down the left field line, batting from the left side of the plate. So he shows a lot of quick hands from the left side, really turned it onto another gear rounding second. And he's a two-way who's also a middle infielder as well. So I'd be interested to see him a little bit more up the middle too. Obviously, he can hop on the mound and get the job done completely fine like he did, but he's one of those guys that I'm sure is a difference maker, not only on the mound, but in the field, in the lineup, on base pass, just kind of a gamer in the field. So he was really the major takeaway from that game, as you would imagine. Another hitter that I kind of keyed in on was Hermas Alfonso, 2022 third baseman, really big, strong frame, swings with a lot of intent. Ball really jumps off the bat when he's on time with it. And during one of his at-bats, he was able to double down the right field line for a pair of RBIs. So he was batting, I believe, third in their order. So he was able to drive in those runs when he needed to. But really, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, guys, Fabian Suarez was the headline of this game and really made it happen.
Definitely looking forward to us covering him more. Just a versatile player, sounds like Mike.
Yeah.
For sure. Earlier this last week, I got to see Oviedo take on the Lake Mary Rams as well. It was a game that Oviedo had fairly good control of early on. They got on the board first with 2022 outfielder Demo Foy, giving them the lead early on, 1-0 in the bottom of the first. He also added another RBI single later to make it a 2-0 lead. Then from there, Oviedo just really opened it up. They had a huge 4-run inning sparked by 2022 catcher Gian Flores, another player that we've highlighted previously and gone in depth and talked about as well. Later on in the game, Lake Mary would start to rally back. Mr. Ryan Ashford got himself a run in off of an RBI single hit to left field. But following that, the Rams would tack on 2 more runs, but Robbie Mitchell came in and closed out the game, securing the win for the Lions. And Jet, you got to see J.W. Mitchell take on George Jenkins, right?
Yeah, a very exciting game. I've been to multiple J.W. Mitchell games at this point in the season, and none of them have disappointed. I've seen all kinds of games from this team, offensive battles, defense and pitching battles. In this one, I saw another defense and pitching battle going up against George Jenkins. 2 big names coming into this game, a really highly anticipated marquee pitching matchup between 2022 left-handed pitcher Ashton Crowther, who's a University of Miami commit, and 2022 right-handed pitcher Aiden Kelly, who's a Jacksonville University commit. We're going to touch on both of those names later on in the show. But for the rest of this game, it was very close all throughout. It was tied all the way going up to the 7th. Early on, though, I've seen this as a common theme in a lot of the games I've gone to for JW Mitchell. The defense has hurt them early on in games, and then they figure out a way to shore up their defense, and then they're fine later on. But it's something interesting that I found as I continue to go more of these games. But like I said, their defense wasn't helping out early on. 2 early errors that gave George Jenkins the early 1-0 lead. Um, Mitchell would tie up the game in the 4th. Something I really liked. We didn't see a lot of offense from this Mitchell lineup, but 2 names I just want to talk about. Aiden Miller, obviously, 2023 infielder and Arkansas commit, didn't make an impact offensively in this one, but he made his impact in other aspects of his game. After he got on base in the 4th inning with a walk, he stole second base, he stole third base, and then he advanced home on a wild pitch. So we saw a little bit of his speed in this one and his base running ability and his aggressiveness. And another thing I like from him is you don't see this in the box score at all. You got to see some of his leadership abilities on display. You could just see him from the on deck circle and in the hole, just trying to help out his teammates, trying to tell him what he sees these pitchers doing, and giving his teammates some tips. So I really love to see that out of him. Definitely a real team player. Yeah, and the only real bit of offense that I saw from the Mitchell lineup in this one was 2024 outfielder and right-handed pitcher Chase Nystrom. He was actually the guy to break up the no-hit bid in the 5th inning with a single off of Aiden Kelly. His final line in this game was 1 for 2, 1 walk, 1 stolen base, and 2 runs. In games past, I got to see a lot of the great defensive skills that Nystrom possesses, but in this game, I got to see a little bit more of what he can do at the plate with his quick hands, ripping a single between the shortstop and the third baseman. And then when he got on base, his speed was on full display. He stole a bag. He stole second base, and then we'll get into this a little bit, that he ended up scoring the game-winning run on a wild pitch. Just above average athleticism, quick hands to the ball. Definitely a strong follow. Then I definitely think we'll be talking about him a lot more as he continues to progress through his high school career. But like I mentioned, going into the 7th inning, we were tied at 2, and there was really no offense. There were six hits combined between both teams. And just as expected, we didn't really see any offense in the bottom of the 7th either. We saw 2 early walks given up by the George Jenkins pitcher. That gave runners on first and second, and then they were able to get 2 quick outs. But we saw some more wild pitches, some more walks, and then with a runner on second and third, the George Jenkins pitcher threw a ball above the catcher's head, couldn't get a handle on it. Wild pitch. Chase Nystrom wound up scoring the game-winning run 3-2, and it was a very exciting victory, even though it was an uneventful on a walk-off wild pitch. A great game defensively, pitching-wise for both teams, and I'm excited to touch on both Crowther and Kelly a little bit later on in the show.
I was about to say, at this point, man, you need like a hat. I'm not gonna go jersey full on yet, but like at least like a t-shirt, some swag, man. You're giving a lot of like you're the professional scout at this point, man.
Stan Gang member.
All right, guys, be sure to like, share, and subscribe this video. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and be sure to hit that bell icon for notifications as well. We're constantly updating playlists, whether it be from the high school season itself, draft prospects for this upcoming year, or even if you want to get deeper in the rabbit hole, you can look at 2023 as well. Make sure to take a look. All right, and looking ahead a little bit to games we're going to be at later this week, I'm going to be able to see Lake Mary take on the Haggerty Huskies. We haven't been able to see Haggerty a lot this season, but I'm excited to see whether it be Talon Bell on the mound, who was one of the top two-way follows in the state, Florida State commit, or Garrett Bauman as well. If you're a height in baseball where you can be a starting forward in the NBA, that definitely gets some eyes and gets some looks. And at 6'8", man, he really commands the mound. Big, imposing presence. I mean, if you're a batter in the box, you have to be thinking about it at least a little bit. Like, good Lord, Scott the Giant. But excited to see them as well, along with Stewart Puckett, USF commit. Just a very quality bat and strong defensively as well. I'm also going to see Lake Highland Prep later tonight take on Bishop Moore. I'm excited to see Otto Kirchhoff, strong defensive catcher with a hose behind home plate as well. Definitely excited to get a better look at him. And Mike, you're going to be getting a closer look at Lakeland Christian as well later this week.
Yeah, so trying to, as you can see, we're adding some few more teams into the fray
Hmm.
here, and Lakeland Christian is one of them. And a couple guys that I really want to key in on is first is Brody Danae, catcher behind the plate for them. We've seen him a ton with O Stingers in the past, and we know that not only does he have an absolute gun from behind the plate and can throw people out at will, but the bat is really his calling card. A lot of present power, can drive in the runs when you need him to. Just a game changing bat. He's one of those kind of players that, well, he can change the game with one swing. So, haven't had the chance to see him this year yet. Really looking forward to checking him out as a 2022 catcher who, um, he's going to be another one that we're probably going to highlight later, next week, in regards to our draft lookout. So, he's one to key in on. And the one that I'm really going to be focusing in on is uncommitted 2023 right hand pitcher Mac Estrada for them. Now, we've seen him in the past before, mostly an 86, 89 guy that we saw last summer. But this spring, he's been in the low 90s and has been up to as much as 93, 94 miles an hour. So, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to see him with that kind of velocity and with the feel for his breaking stuff that I understand has been going on as well. As an uncommitted arm, he's got to be at the top of the list for everybody. He's actually, as we're going to go through all of our arms, he's actually quite a football player too. So he actually gave up football this past season to focus in on baseball. Not an easy thing to do, obviously, when you can excel at a number of sports at the high school level, but he
Hmm.
sees the upside from continuing his career just from a baseball perspective. So another kid that really has a ton of athleticism, and you love to see that on the mound because maybe it doesn't show up on the radar gun or in the box score, but it's different things like making the plays off the mound, being able to know what to do in certain spots, how to command the zone, how to get the rest of your team in position to make sure that they're in a good spot defensively. So there's a lot of different things that come into play there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Haven't had the opportunity yet, and I believe they play a team from outside the state on later this week too. So it'll be interesting to see how some guys from up north take on these guys from down Florida, and I think Jet will probably be touching on that as well.
For sure. And Jet, you want to get right into it right now?
Yeah, so like Mike alluded to, spoiler alert, by the way, I will not be going to a Mitchell Mustang game this week, but I'm not complaining at all. I'm going to see Berkeley Prep, who is on an unbelievable run to begin the season, 13-0. Still haven't found a loss in that column yet, but they've been playing at an extremely high level, and like Mike said, they are playing another team from up north, St. Ignatius from Cleveland, Ohio, making the trip down south. I'm not sure if they know what they're getting themselves into, but that's to be determined. What we'll see in the outcome of this game should be an exciting game nonetheless. But a few guys that I'm excited to really see for the first time is one guy, Cade Curlin, 2022 grad who actually reclassified. It was originally 2023 grad, but now reclassified as a 2022 grad. University of Florida commit on the year. He's hitting 425, 7 home runs, 18 RBIs. So clearly, just based off that stat line alone, it should be very exciting to see him in action. Another guy, Gunnett Carlson, 2022 grad, left-handed catcher, FSU commit. Another guy off to a very strong season, hitting 432 with 14 RBIs. And then a third guy that I'm really excited to get my eyes on is 2022 grad Owen McElpatrick. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but he's a Northwestern commit, can really play all over the field. And notable fact about him, he actually had the game-winning hit over Jesuit several games back. This is just the tip of the iceberg with some of the guys on this team. Obviously, there's more guys on this team that have contributed to this 13-0 start, and I'm really excited to see what they can do against a team that's outside of the state.
Most definitely. I think they got trapped into it. They're like, we get to go where for spring break? I don't care what the team is. Yeah, we'll do it. It's Cleveland. All right, and Mike, you're rounding us out with another South Florida game, the Deep South, excuse me. We're going to see Stoneman Douglas versus Westminster Christian.
Yeah. Obviously, we've highlighted Stoneman Douglas a number of times this season, and they're one of the strongest teams in the state. So why not? So obviously we've gone over guys like Roman Anthony, Christian Rodriguez, and all that group. But here's what I'm really looking forward to seeing from Westminster Christian is Sal Stewart, the Vanderbilt commit. This guy can really, really make it happen at the plate. Obviously, a high on the list for MLB draft follows. He's a impact bat that has been continually followed by pro scouts throughout this spring season. Um, just a difference maker in the lineup. If you need someone to have a big play or make a big hit in a big spot, he knows how to do it. A lot of different players we see have all different kind of abilities. They can do this, they can do that. But Sal Stewart's one of those kids that when the time is right, he shines his brightest. So really looking forward to seeing that. And this will be a good challenge for Stoneman Douglas because I believe coming into the game, Westminster Christian is 10-2. I know these guys are not too far from each other, so there's going to be a little bit of a heated rivalry going on, if you will, and in a South Florida matchup that is going to feature a lot of high-end talent. Of course, from a draft perspective, but there's guys on both sides of the field that are just as good watches as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how this one plays out. We'll see what pitcher Stoneman Douglas throws out there to go after that lineup, especially with Sal Stewart leading the way in that one. But this is one that next week I think we'll be talking about some really kind of big game-changing plays.
Definitely some highlights to see on the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
Gonna go back to that plug as well.
Yes.
All right, real quick. This upcoming June 15th at Lake Brantley High School, we'll be having the Diamond Prospect Media Central Florida Summer Showcase. Registration is now open for all 2023 to 2026 grads. It will feature a pro-style workout and bullpen. This is a great way to get your videos and updated stats and get just additional exposure early in the summer. All players will be outfitted in a beautiful DPM dry fit jersey, and they'll be able to keep their videos and share them as well after. We don't charge you. Once your video is yours, it is yours. You can do with it whatever you please. And with that now, let's go into some MLB draft breakdowns, guys. So you alluded to Aiden Kelly earlier and Ashton Crowder. I'm just going to let you guys get right into it.
Well, Jet, why don't you start it off with Aiden Kelly, and then I'll kind of fill in, but I know you were right on the scene.
Yeah, like I said, a great pitching matchup and one that I was really excited to get to watch. Obviously, from what I've seen in that game between Kelly and Crowther, it seemed like Kelly did have the upper hand for most of the game, like I alluded to. He was no-hitting a very solid Mustangs lineup, and for Kelly, just like Crowther, they were both really using that breaking stuff, and it was working. They were able to keep hitters off balance all throughout the game. Both guys topped their fastball at 90 miles an hour. For Crowther, though, at times it looked like he was maybe holding back a little bit. I feel like he definitely has a lot more in the tank. But nevertheless, both guys are extremely confident in their stuff, extremely commanding presence on the mound. Both important parts of both of their respective rotations. Honestly, even though they both pitch from different sides, a lot of similarities. Obviously, Crowther being the University of Miami commit, Kelly being a Jacksonville University commit, but both are MLB draft prospects and both have plenty of upside at the next level and beyond. Just a little bit more on Crowther. As he got, later into the game, it looked like the command started to get away from him. He surrendered 4 walks in the 5th inning and 6 walks on the day. So not from a command perspective, wasn't great, but overall, he really, really was solid. He, like I said, he has plenty of upside, just like Kelly at the next level, and I'm excited to see where both of these guys go.
Yeah, it was really so. What I took away from some of the videos that I saw, and obviously you were there on the scene, was, and you kind of just alluded to it. It looked like their breaking stuff was really working. And the one thing that I noticed with Kelly was that he seemed really confident throwing that breaking ball anytime in the count. Obviously, we know the fastball works for him, and well, he was only up to 90 on the night. I believe he's been up to 92 before. So I'm sure we probably will see that kind of as we dip later into the season here. Games get a little bit bigger, especially as the playoff season comes around. But we've seen him before with the O Stingers as well. So we definitely have have had a lot of opportunity to see him. And he's been one that has really made some nice jumps. And I think what you alluded to, his curveball has really come around. And Crowther, I think he's another one that it's interesting that you say they were both similar because I think they both really do have a command of that breaking ball. And man, when I saw Crowther throw some of those breaking balls, it really didn't look like the Mitchell lineup, or I mean the George Jenkins lineup had much of a chance. Some of those pitches really started with a lot of 12 and a lot of 6 right into the dirt. So I think Crowther's been up to 93 too. So I think what you were saying, both of them have more in the tank. Obviously, is there. We've seen it before. Crowther, what I really like about him though is that he has that long, lean 6'4", 210 frame. So he's probably going to put a little bit more on him. And anything that we've noticed about how some of the physicality translates to the next level is probably some of his velo is going to go up too. So um, obviously he can throw strikes when he needs to. I think his command possibly later in the game will be something that he'll be kind of toying with here because it is important as you kind of were talking about, especially in a game that really one run could be the difference between a game. So I think you did a great job on covering these guys. And I think both of them are going to be really strong follows as we head into June, July. I'm not sure if they put out the exact date of the MLB draft yet because they finally figured themselves out and got the spring training going, but we know it'll be sometime this summer. So either later in June, early July, but either way, those are two names, Jet, where I think we'll be kind of on the lookout for them and seeing what happens depending upon where they go.
Yeah, one more thing I just wanted to touch on Crowther. A lot of his pitch count rising was due to, like I mentioned, the Mitchell defense not really helping him out early on. So we saw a rise in his pitch count, which didn't help him in getting really far in this game. He went 5 innings. He was over 100 pitches, but
Yeah.
definitely by that 5th inning, the fatigue was kicking in. And
Yeah.
even with that fatigue, he was still able to find the strike zone, really commanded it. And I really liked what I saw from both of these guys, and this is not the last we'll be hearing from either of them.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And rounding us out for this pod, another edition of Mike's Likes. Starting us off, we're going to be looking at Sagemont's Eric Vega.
Yeah. So Eric went 0 for 1 on the day when I saw him, but he drew 3 walks. And you can see the bat speed was there on some pitches that he fouled off. And actually, the next day, he came up with a couple of base hits that were ripped right back up the middle, which looks like the type of hitter he is. He's a leadoff batter, so his job is to get on, drive the ball back up to the middle. But even though he didn't get a hit, he made himself plenty of attention on the base paths. Plays with a lot of high energy, gets a lot of good jumps. There was a particular play where he was stealing second already, definitely had it, in the bag. Pass ball, made it all the way to third from first. And he didn't slow down one clip. Really was able to make his way around the base pass very quickly. And he's your prototypical leadoff guy. He's going to do whatever it takes to get on. He's going to get on base and he's going to create havoc on the base pass. And obviously that affects the pitcher because they're worried about what he's doing on the base pass. What are they going to throw? If I throw a breaking ball here, is that going to give him too much time to get going from a stolen base perspective? So a lot of different ways he can impact the lineup. And he played shortstop throughout the game. A lot of really confident, smooth hands up the middle, made a couple of nice plays, arm plays across the diamond. Fit that in there for the day. So I really like what I see. Uncommitted 2023 middle infielder that is a spark plug at the top of the lineup.
Next up, we got 2024 Chase Nystrom out of JW Mitchell.
Yeah, and Jet was referring to him earlier, and Jet kind of referred to some of his defensive prowess that we've seen in the past. I believe he's been up to 88, 89 on the mound as well. They mostly use him in a relief role, 6th, 7th inning kind of guy, but he's another one that he has above average speed, as Jet alluded to with his stolen bases opportunities. I think he clocks in right around a 6.65 for a 60-yard dash, so he can get it moving. Has some good bloodlines in his family from a athletic standpoint, and the hands are really, really quick to the zone. And he's a lean kind of frame guy right now, so I think once he kind of adds a little bit more physicality, which he has plenty of time to as a 2024 grad, you're going to see it translate, especially from an offensive perspective. Like those balls hitting the gaps are going to become really, really the chance to turn into some extra base hits, not only a double but a triple, because he already has the speed. So if the physicality plays and he's able to drive that ball a little bit deeper to the wall, perhaps, there's no doubt about it. He can fly himself around to third base or a triple.
For sure. And Rams out here, Mr. Aiden Merch out of Mayor Rams.
Yeah, and Kennedy, you got a chance
Mhm.
to see him quite a bit too. I think what we've noticed about Andrew is it's a very simple approach to the plate. Really does a good job of driving the ball where it's pitched, and by that I mean he can go the other way. He can turn on it and pull it down the line. We've seen him deliver base hits a number of ways. So he seems to be somebody that in that Lake Mary lineup that no matter who they're going up against from a pitching perspective, he's someone that can do the job, get on base, get the offense rolling, no matter where it is in the game. So he's someone as an uncommitted guy that I think people should really pay attention to, especially as we near towards the summer here. An infielder that can really make an impact offensively. And in that Lake Mary lineup, there's no doubt about it. He plays a big part in it.
Most definitely. I will say this. I've rarely seen him take a bad at bat. When you talk about a guy who might have a 3-2 count and he's just in there battling, fouling balls, trying to make an impact for his team. Consistently, I'm just seeing 16 either on base or just like trying to give his team something. And I'm like, okay, there's something there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for this week. Thank you guys as always. And to everyone watching, make sure to like, share, and subscribe and be on the lookout for the next one.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.